I had the bright idea of trying to wear this thing. I'm not gonna do that. I was gonna wear this thing for the opening of this video, and it's not gonna work too well. It's a little too tight, a little too small for my head. So we're gonna slip into something a bit more comfortable. What do you think? I like it. And you can fuck off over there. Welcome to the very first episode of Retro Reactive. Today we're starting with the original arcade Splatterhouse game released in 1988 by Namco. This is going to be a month-long October event. I'm going to be doing 5 videos starting today all the way through October 30th on Halloween Eve, doing a video on every Splatterhouse game. This week is Splatterhouse 1 on the arcade. Next week is going to be Splatterhouse 1 Paku Graffiti for the old Famicom. So, without further ado, strap yourselves in and let's get retro reactive. Splatterhouse was a beat-em-up game released into the arcades in 1988 by Namco, back when they were just called Namco, not Namco Bandai. It was developed in-house by the Namco Splatter team, and the game was made with heavy influences from modern Western horror, or in that day what was considered modern Western horror. Now, obvious film choices like Friday the 13th and The Evil Dead you can see, but there's also films like The Fly and Poltergeist, and a heavy influence of Lovecraftian horror. The game was actually pretty well received, being listed as the 6th most successful table arcade game of the year in a 1988 issue of the Japanese magazine Game Machine. The game also got ports to a few other systems, one being the TurboGrafx, the other being the FM Towns, which I believe was a Japanese system. I'm not entirely sure about that one, I've never actually heard of it, and the PC Engine, all of them with varying differences, mainly being the reduction of certain graphical elements like moving sprites and things like that just because of hardware limitations. But especially in North America, any reference to what would be considered satanic imagery was removed, also removing some of the heavy blood and gore effects. And of course, changing the hockey mask, well, the terror mask, it looks like a hockey mask, from white to red. Just so people didn't assume it was a Jason ripoff, because Jason was popular back in that era. The story for the game is actually pretty simple. 2 teens, Rick and Jennifer, are in the woods during a rainstorm/thunderstorm, and then seek out shelter in a mansion. Once inside, Jennifer screams and some spooky music plays. That's really it. It was an arcade game, you don't really have too much plot, it's just an excuse plot. Monsters stole your girlfriend, go get them! When the game got released to the TurboGrafx, it actually gave the game more story. I think in one of the old magazines of the day, there was a comic that sort of spelled out its story. But most of the elements that came to be part of the story in the actual series started from there. The naming of Dr. West, the naming of West Mansion, the fact that Jennifer and Rick are parapsychology students in college, and even the mask itself being known as the Terror Mask. Most of that came from the TurboGrafx port. Enough about the story and all of that stuff, let's get into the game. As you start, you get a quick cutscene of the mask floating around doing its ghostly thing, and then swooping in and latching onto Rick's face. And then the screen fades out, and then the screen fades in again to stage 1. And that's where you start moving. Now, like I said before, the game is a beat-em-up. It's not very deep. You move left to right, you have a joystick, a jump button, and an attack button. It's pretty simple. There's 3 different attacks that you can do depending on how you move the joystick and you attack. You have the regular punch, which is just push the attack button when you're standing, a low kick, which when you're ducking, you press the attack button, and a slide. The slide is a bit tricky to pull off. It involves you having to jump and then hold down and attack just as you land, but it's really powerful, and it can kill most enemies within 1 hit. Using it on bosses is I would call that player discretionary. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Use at your own risk. Stage 1 starts out Well, really straightforward. You're in a basement, and you're moving to the ladder at the end. The first thing you'll notice is these purple little ghouls that will go and fall in one punch. Those are going to be your standard enemy. They come in blue, yeah. They come in purple, and they come in green. Green doesn't show up until later. And you can even grab a meat cleaver, kick-ass, and lop the heads off the monsters in a spray of blood, along with this very cartoony chopping sound effect. And there's also a 2x4 you can get later, where you can smack the zombies into the back wall in a very glorious spray of body, flesh, and blood. And you also notice in the background there's ghouls chained to the wall, and as you walk by, they'll groan very loudly. They'll blink, and then they'll vomit some type of acid that puddles in front of you. Yeah, that shit hurts. And once you get through all the obstacles and all the bad guys and everything like that, you'll come to the ladder into the boss room. Now, this boss room is actually really straightforward. It's you in a meat room with a dead corpse in the corner hanging from the ceiling, creepy little fucker. And the goal is to survive. I mean, the goal is to survive anyway, but there's no actual boss here. It's just a bunch of boar worms that are crawling out of the meat and jumping at you. You know, like the chest bursters from the Alien series. And that's really it. You beat these guys down as best you can, don't let them bite you, and then you're done. Almost. When you get to the end, one more little worm will burst out of the dead creature in the corner and try to kill you. That's a nasty little trap that the game devs thought would be funny to put in. Stage 2 starts up on the next floor, and more ghouls to fight. As you move through the level, you'll be able to pick up a wrench, it's a nifty new weapon. You'll encounter the brainlet enemies, as I call them, the guys you saw at the end of Stage 1. These guys are a pain in the ass. They take 3 hits at most to kill. Put them down with 2, or you cut their head off, and the head will come back to life. You're always going to have to deal with this little asshole, because even if you think you put him down, the head will come back to life and likely hit you if you're not prepared. And they come in crowds later on. And there's also the dropping bodies from the ceiling, the same body that you saw at the boss fight of Stage 1. That little gray, white, bloated demon thing. I don't know what it's called. They're here. And if you have the cleaver, if you picked up the cleaver, it's really fun taking these guys out. Just because of the animation. Just one swipe of the cleaver cuts them in half, and just the animation of them falling apart and just dissolving into a puddle of blood before vanishing. It's a nice touch. And I'm going to say that about all the animations in the game, with the death animations and the monster deaths and all of that. Most of the animations are really good. After you get through the upper level, you go down to a water hallway, which is kind of boring, or it sounds kind of boring, but you have to contend with little floating spiked silver balls, because metal floats, and these water zombies that will crawl out of the water to try and attack you. The water zombies go down in one hit, but if you picked up the 2x4 and you smack them against the wall, again, great animation. You can see their faces kind of stretch out in pain as they slide down, and they let out this sickening groan that has really good reverb and echo to it. So you're hearing it, and you can almost feel the impact as they hit the wall. And you get to the end, and then you go up to the Stage 2 boss. I don't care for this boss. It's not hard, it's just kind of boring. It's your standard fare poltergeist evil ghost type shit. Really, that's all it is. The room starts up, the room's shaking, and it's moving back and forth. Candles are falling off the chandelier, which is a really good effect, by the way. You can punch the candles, too, if you're quick enough. Invisible jars will come out of the air and fall on you. These ones you can't actually punch, so you have to avoid them. And then after the room is done making a spectacle of itself, the chair comes to life. Yes, a bouncing fucking chair. It's kind of annoying, really. And then the dagger comes to life. Oh, wow. Floating daggers. It's actually pretty nifty. Kind of. It's a bit more challenging than the chair. You punch the knife down, and then 2 more knives spring to life, and then you eventually punch those down. After you do all of that, the creepy one-eyed painting will come to life. And this guy's actually a bit of a pain in the ass. It flies straight on its side, and it flies really fast. And getting the rhythm down to actually defeat it without getting hurt takes a bit of work. On your first time playthrough, you're likely gonna die if you don't know what's coming. After you get through it, the painting will fall, and then you'll see the spirit that was haunting everything in the room kind of go ape shit and make another spectacle of itself before flying out of the window. The room is not safe at this point, though. No, because after the spirit leaves, the chandelier starts shaking. And then it falls to the floor. And the thing about this, it will kill you instantly if you're underneath it when it falls. So now that we're here, I probably should take a moment to mention that in between each stage, you get a little cute transition. Rick standing there with a machete looking like Jason fucking Voorhees, another Friday the 13th reference for you. And you'll have the stage number up in the top left corner, and you'll have a little door just above Rick. The door will explode, show you the next stage, what it looks like, or what to expect. It's more of what it is, more of a preview. And down in the bottom, you'll have a life meter. Your life meter will show up, and it'll do a little star effect, and then it'll give you an extra heart. So every time you start a new level, you get 1 heart added to your total. The total hearts you can get is 6. Also, during the actual game, during the scrolling part, if you ever stop and don't move for any set amount of time, or you don't move the screen at all, eventually this purple electrical mist will come up behind you because it's chasing you the entire level. Through the entire game, actually. If you turtle too long, this will start creeping up on you, and it damages you. It hurts you. It will kill you if you turtle. It was, for the arcade days, I'm pretty sure it was designed to actually keep players from stalling. You're always moving. Something similar like that shows up in a boss fight. I've never personally seen it, but from what I've been told, it's this: if you take too long in a boss fight, if you can survive long enough to take too long in a boss fight, this white starry orb will come in. It's a bit like the purple mist, but it'll come in and insta-kill you. Like I said, I've never seen it, so I don't have footage. I don't have the patience to stay in a fight that long, honestly. I'll either get killed or I'll just want to kill the boss. So that's why I don't have the footage there. But the same thing as the purple mist. It's designed to prevent people wasting time. Let's move on. Stage 3. Now, Stage 3, we're outside the mansion. We're going from the main part of the mansion we were in to a different part. And this is actually pretty straightforward. There's no extra paths. There's nothing like that. I mean, there technically is an extra path on the bridge. There's these floating little lights that if you step on, will have a hand come up and pull you under, and you have to go through a basement sort of level. But if you do it right, you only have to go through the top. This level introduces dogs, zombie dogs. These guys are kind of annoying. I say kind of because they only ever show up. They don't show up in all the stages. They show up in 2 of the stages. And they only show up when you kill a zombie. If you kill a zombie, the zombie remains will stay on there, and these zombie dogs will run up and start munching on the zombie remains. I don't know why, but that's what happens. It is actually possible to get past them, but it's much easier to kill them. They take 2 hits to kill. The first hit will piss them off. Literally, it'll piss them off. They'll look at you. If you interrupt them eating, they'll growl. They'll run off, and then they'll try and charge you. And that's where the second hit will do them in. They're annoying, to say the very least. It's a bit tricky to get past them, but it's possible. So killing them or getting past them is really player choice. There's a special weapon in Stage 3. They're shotguns. Now, these have a special use. They'll blow apart zombies with 1 shot. I mean, as you'd expect, it's a fucking shotgun. I'd be alarmed if it didn't put a zombie down in 1 hit. As you go through the level, come across the other side of the forest with spike pits and little hanging bodies. There's also some rocks you can pick up. You can actually juggle weapons if you know how to do it. Basically, the idea is you stand over a weapon, you push down, and you'll pick up the new weapon. If you're holding a weapon and you drop down to pick up a different weapon, you'll drop the old weapon. And you do this, you can carry weapons very slowly across the map. They call that weapon juggling. You'll eventually come to the end of the level with a big skinless beast wearing a bag on his head. Yes, another Friday the 13th reference there. This guy is called the Biggie Man. He's actually a really tough son of a bitch. He's really hard to fight barehanded. I've done it a couple of times. I am not going to try and catch footage doing that because it drives me fucking crazy. Mainly because he has chainsaw for hands, and he has a fucking large reach. And he's actually quite mobile, so he's a nightmare. On to stage 4. Stage 4, this is one of my favorite stages out of all of them for, okay, 2 reasons. I was going to say 1 reason, but there's 2. The first one is Mirror Rick. The second is the boss itself, but we'll get there eventually. Now, one thing you'll notice is the new weapons on the back wall, the spears. These are fun. They're really fun. You throw them at an enemy, you watch them explode or fall down in their little animation, and you enjoy it. Blood and carnage. That's what we've expected at this point. It's not going to change. Now, this is where challenges start to creep up. There's holes in the floor that'll take you to a basement or a worm room. And then there's also spinning blades that you'll have to contend with, and then the fucking bats that will come down again. Then after you get through all of that, you come to the mirror hallway, which is actually really creepy, even for a 16-bit game, because the mirror reflections are really fucking amazing. I'm not entirely sure how they did it, but it's really cool, and you can actually press up and look at yourself in the mirror too, which is, it's actually kind of funny. It's really funny when you do it, when you just look at it, it's like, there. It looks like Jason's looking at himself in the mirror like, boy, do I look fucking good today, man. But yeah, carrying on. The mirror room. This hallway is actually really straightforward. You're walking along in the mirrors, and all of a sudden you'll pass by one mirror, and this gray version of you will smash through the mirror. Like, literally smash. Like, he will walk his ass out through the mirror and start attacking you. This is Mirror Rick, and he's one of the more iconic enemies in the game. He has the same moves you do, including the slide, although he's a bit of a cheating bastard because he can do it in midair, little fucker. But beating him is actually really straightforward. 3 hits, or if you're lucky enough to get a slide in on him, you hit him with a slide and then punch him once and he's gone. Yeah, because the slide does 2 points of damage to enemies. It's really useful, but again, like I said, using it on bosses sometimes may not work. Other times, use at your discretion. But this hallway, you'll encounter Mirror Rick, I'd say 2 or 3 times, at least. At least 2, maybe 3. It really depends on what the game is feeling like at that time and how far you are along the actual path. Because after a while, it auto-scrolls to the end. And that's where we come to the boss room. Oh god, this boss is fucking incredible. It takes place in a church, in a church, a cathedral, a church hallway. And it's dark. And when you enter, there's this organ music, and it's like kind of uplifting, and all of a sudden it turns into this really creepy, energetic, blood flowing, adrenaline running. Like, you want to beat the shit out of whatever's going to come at you with this giant axe that you pick up. And sure enough, an inverted cross comes out of fucking nowhere with 6 demon heads floating around it. There's your satanic imagery, actually. This guy was removed from the TurboGrafx edition. He was replaced with another evil head. And I think his name was changed too. I don't know what his name was, but it was something really stupid. But the inverted cross, this is one of the more amazing bosses. And this is, the best part of stage 4. It's an inverted cross with 6 heads. I said it like 3 times already. I apologize. And he just bounces up and down the room. The first part is you're chasing him. It's not moving. It's floating up and down. It's moving backwards. Eventually, the stage will stop scrolling, and then it'll start moving around. And it'll keep throwing the heads at you. The heads are good to farm points if you want extra lives, but remember, don't turtle too long, otherwise Evil Orb will come kill you. But eventually, you'll corner him, you'll have to fight him as he bounces around the room, and the trick here is you have to hit the cross. Hitting the heads don't do anything. You hit the cross to kill the cross. And once you do that, well, then the cathedral lights up. It gets all holy and pretty, and so amazing. And then you hear this wonderful organ music, this church organ uplifting music right in front of an altar. And then a scare chord. And then Jennifer screams in the distance. Yeah, we're at the halfway point now. We're at the halfway point, and it's going to get a lot harder from here. So if you couldn't already tell by the music starting off and kicking into overdrive, or by the bouncing chairs, this stage is going to give you a lot of fucking trouble. It gives me trouble all the fucking time. I hate this stage. I think I find kind of funny because I absolutely love stage 4. You know, stage 4 is fun. I mean, minus the spinning blades, minus those. Level 4 is really fun. Level 5, I fucking hate. Now, level 5 is a gauntlet level. By that I mean, there's 5 rooms you have to fight through. Not counting the boss fight room. Counting the boss fight, there's 6 rooms. But I don't count the boss fight room as a room because it's a fucking boss fight. So, 5 rooms. You have 2 rooms you always go through. The bookcase room and the room with the floors that are destroyed and the Evil Dead hands. Another reference to a film, by the way. The Evil Dead ash hands. They jump up and flip you off, the cheeky little fucks. So, the goal is to navigate through 5 rooms without getting too much damage, without losing all your lives, just to get the final boss fight. It's a pain in the ass. Add in the fact that you can actually go to several different rooms after the first 2 rooms. The first 2 rooms are always the same. When you end the second room, you have the choice of either going down or going up, and that'll take you to a different room. And then the level gets really mixed up no matter where you go. Path I generally always go to involves a water room, involves a necromancer room with a floating ghost guy, and then a worm room that I always go through. It's never fun going through any of those rooms anyway. That's just the path of least resistance for me. There are other rooms you can go through. You can go to the very top of the map, which is a room with paintings that have heads that come out of the fucking paintings, and little ghost girls that drop skulls on you. Then there's the worm room that you can fall into. There's another mirror room, which is actually really fucking annoying. I don't like that one as much, because it's no need for it to be there, it's just there. And then once you go through all of that, you come to the boss room. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I fucking hate this boss. Which is such a, like I said, it's such a stark contrast to level 4. I love level 4. I hate much of level 5, and I hate the fucking boss fight. So let's get into this. When you first arrive, you have some safe-sounding music, and you have these monsters surrounding a sofa next to a fireplace, and it turns out, oh, that's Jen. Then Jen wakes up, says, oh, my darling, in the worst fucking digitized voice you could probably hear. Okay, it's really not that bad, but it's pretty loud for an arcade game. It's loud and echoey, and it's kind of distorted. But after that, she mutates, and you have to fight this mutated creature that has spikes that come out of its fucking hand. I can't stress enough how much I fucking hate fighting this fucking monster. I hate it. And because it's not really hard. I mean, it is hard, but it's not hard. It's annoying at the very end. It's 3 phases to the fight. The first 2 phases are pretty much the same. The monster will jump around, try to jump over you or try to hop closer to you, and then it'll shoot out its little claws. You're supposed to punch it before it has a chance to do any of that. So after 6 hits, the boss transforms back into Jennifer. Jennifer does some bleeding. It does some mutating again. Rinse, repeat for phase 2. Phase 3 is where it adds in a 3rd type of jump. Now, there's 2 types of jumps that the boss normally does. There's the full room leap, where it jumps all the way over you and tries to attack you. And there's also the small hop, where it jumps towards you but not over you, that you have to punch away. The 3rd phase adds an even tinier hop, which is just this little hop to get closer to you, and then it kills you. It's hard to time. It really is hard to time. It's hard to see coming. And that's what makes this boss fight the worst. Not to mention, every time you get a game over at a boss fight, you have to go back to the beginning of the stage. I probably failed to mention that before, but it kind of goes without saying. So this stage is one of the worst. I fucking hate trying to fight this boss. I make no bones about it. But once you get through the boss and you defeat Jennifer and you get game over 7 fucking times, like I did trying to record the footage, after all of that suffering that you likely went through, Jennifer dies in your arms and she spirits away. Like, Jennifer's gone. That's it. You failed to save her. And then this little monster, this little brainlet monster comes out, taunts you, and then runs back towards the other side of the room. Of course, Rick follows, and there's a bloody hole. Now, as much as I say I hate most of level 5 and I hate the boss fight of level 5, that all pales in comparison to the fact that I absolutely hate everything about stage 6. I fucking hate stage 6 for a couple reasons. One, it's a giant womb. It's kind of fucking creepy. It really is. You know, you're in this hallway. It looks like a fucking uterus. It really does. And there's this pulsing organs and all of that jive. And there's also these little spunk bubbles that turn into little spunk demons. I'm not making that up. I don't know what the fuck to call them, so I call them little spunk demons. And they're fucking annoying. And that's all this level is. This level is one of the most straightforward levels in the game outside of level 7. But this is one of the more annoying ones because of those little hell house spunk demons. Now, there's a pattern to those. They start out as little eggs, they grow, expand, and then they break off of either the floor or the ceiling or whatever, and then they float towards you. And then once they land again, they hatch into this little hell house spunk demon itself. They're not spunk demon eggs anymore, they're hell house spunk demons. And they latch onto you and suck your life away. These motherfuckers are a pain in the ass. Like, there's no other way to explain it. They're a fucking pain in the ass. If you don't stay on top of the eggs even before they hatch and pay close attention to the ones that do, you're going to have a very, very horrible time. You're not even going to have a bad time. This is going to be a fucking horrible time. And it's always this level that I fucking waste the most time on. I can't tell you how many game overs I got trying to record this footage. I actually tried to record the footage twice, by the way. I went through the game once, and I didn't struggle on this level, but the footage got corrupted. So on the second time through, of course, it took fucking forever to get to this. To get through this fucking stage. I hate it. I hate it. I have nothing nice to say about this level at all. It's the uterus of the Hell House. And you're fighting Hell House spunk demons. And when you get to the end, you're fighting the ovary of the Hell House uterus, and that spawns the Hell House spunk demons. It sounds really fucking disturbing, and there's no other way to put it, so I'm just gonna leave it there. That's all of stage 6. Once you get to the end, you start beating the hell out of this fucking heart that's in the wall, or whatever the fuck it is. It looks like a fucking deformed ovary. And after a while, you beat it enough. Oh my god, I gotta stop right there. Oh my fucking Christ. You know, I was on a serious track, and the moment I said that, I can't fucking with a straight face anymore. Just no. I'll try this again. You start with the fight, and you start beating on this fucking thing. It takes a lot of fucking... My fucking Christ. The ovary of the Hell House can take a fucking beating. There's no good way to say this. I'm sorry. I am... Anyway, after you beat the fuck out of this ovary, It goes apeshit, starts spasming, and then it explodes. And this is one of those bosses that has a trap that if you get hit by this fluid, you're likely going to be dead. So don't go near it. The moment it starts spasming, back the fuck away. Alright, I'm not even going to try to talk about this level anymore. There's going to be so many fucking bad things coming out. So, after contending with the Hell House Womb and the Hell House Spunk demons, we're finally making our escape. And here we go to stage 7. Now, this starts off like stage 3 did, only everything's on fire. Literally everything. The forest is on fire, the house is burning down behind you because destroying the heart of that fucking uterus in the Hell House and the Hell House Spunk demons destroyed the entirety of the house. The house was living, apparently, and so the house is dying. It catches on fire and burns everything down. And the whole point of this level is to escape. That's it. Nothing more than that. You're escaping. Jen's gone, the house is burning down, your goal is to get the fuck out of Dodge. Of course, you're not going to have an easy time doing that because the forest wants to fucking kill you. And there's 2 main obstacles you have to watch out for. And both of them you have to avoid. You can't kill them, you can't knock them off path, you have to avoid them. Which is kind of annoying with some of the jump mechanics, but it takes practice, it really does. The first obstacle are these flaming creatures that are caught on fire. You can't kill them, they jump down, land in front of you, spasm for a fucking minute, and then jump over you. The other obstacle you have to contend with are logs, the flaming logs. These are easier to navigate, but when they start rolling with the monsters and everything, it gets a little tricky. But short obstacle section, you finally get to the end. When you get to the end, you're in this open clearing, no fire, no nothing. All of a sudden, this spirit from the mask goes into the ground where this little cross is. And then you hear a roar. And you hear some of the fucking greatest final boss music you could ever hear in an arcade game. Just take a moment to listen to this. It's so fucking amazing. Yeah, you're listening to it, it's fucking incredible. And this coming from the incredible music that was with the evil inverted cross. This music and this boss are the best in the game. Okay, that says a lot because the evil cross is fucking incredible. Now this boss here is, well, it was known by a couple of different names. I'm not sure whether it was given a name before or after it got ported, but during the arcade era, people called it Captain Mozzarella because it looked like a skull with mozzarella cheese on it, I guess. I don't fucking know. It's really weird the moment I heard that. It's like, why the fuck would you call him Captain Mozzarella? But whatever. But the official name is Hell Chaos, and isn't that kind of fitting? This little creepy bastard, okay, he's not little, but he's a creepy bastard, is just a head that comes out of the ground. And he has arms as well, but you don't see those yet. And fighting him is pretty straightforward, or it seems that way. You're supposed to go up and punch him like you fucking do every other boss. You don't have any weapons or anything like that. All you have is punching him. But when you do enough damage to him, his arms come up from the front of the screen and try to grab you. And this boss is actually one of the most, how do I say this? The boss doesn't cheat. The boss fights fair in an ironic twist because it's a final boss. You expect final bosses to be really mean and unforgiving, but the only thing you really have to contend with are his hands, which you can't fight off. They come from the front of the screen, which is already breaking the rules of the game just a little bit because nothing ever comes from in front of the play area. It's always in the play area. So you have these gigantic mutated arms trying to grab at you like it's raking leaves from the fucking play area, just trying to grab you. And then every so often, after the head disappears, that's all you have to deal with. You'll have to deal with him trying to grab you. Sometimes both arms will come up and try to grab you. And then you wait for his head to come back up out of the ground. And when he does this, every time his head comes back up, the rocks fly into the air, and you have to deal with rocks flying down. So there's a lot to deal with in this fight. It really is. But it's still so much fucking fun. Just beating on him and dancing with the arms trying to grab you. Once you get through this boss, it's really satisfying. It's one of the best final bosses you could ever fucking hope to play against. And then, of course, after you beat Hell Chaos, you'll get like 100,000 points, and you'll get like 2 extra lives, which aren't gonna fucking do you any good now, but whatever. After all of that, he's destroyed, his arms are gone, he sinks back into the ground. And then the area starts to get all foggy and patchy, and then this ghostly face just appears, kind of in pain, and then just dissipates to everything around you. And that's the end of the game. And then, afterwards, the screen fades out, and it goes to a shot of Rick standing in front of the burning building. There's no color of Rick at all, it's just him and his silhouette, and the mask, boom, shatters. And that's the end of Splatterhouse. So, my final thoughts on the game. Well, I'm not going to say final thoughts, because I have recurring thoughts about this game. This game's one of my favorites, and I don't say that lightly. This game has been fucking amazing since I've been playing it. The first time I ever actually played the arcade version was, 13 years ago when I downloaded it on MAME. I downloaded a ROM, because that was the only way to get it at the time. And so, but that was the first time I played it, and just since then, it's been amazing. It's definitely a game worth checking out. No matter how you play it, it's really fun. There are some things that are a little annoying. While the controls are really good and relatively responsive, because of the age and because of, modern gaming technology, they do feel a little bit sluggish. You can sort of tell the jumping mechanics are a bit slow. Sometimes a bit awkward, but it's one of those things you get used to as well. Once you get into the rhythm, you kind of forget that it's there because you're so used to it. The level layouts are what you'd expect from a beat-em-up. It does do different things. You have branching paths, and, some level layouts are more annoying than others, strictly for being a challenge. That's the point of the game. It's horror. But beyond that, it's really straightforward in terms of level design. You go from one point to another point, fighting monsters in between. There's nothing more you could really could ask for. Maybe, a slightly less annoying boss in Stage 5, but... And the music as well. Most of the music actually kind of annoys me. Just because some of it is just, okay, whatever. It's there. Most of it is just white noise to me at this point. The best tracks that I will say are the absolute best is the Evil Cross battle music and the Hell Chaos battle music. Both of those themes are fucking incredible. And not counting the final credits theme that you hear when the credits play. That theme is very soft and just mellow compared to the entire experience, and it just leaves the game on a very, uncertain, kind of creepy tone. As for the horror elements of the game, the horror elements are actually really well blended with the gameplay. Now, there were other games in this era that actually came out that were far more violent, far more gruesome, but they were meant for shock value more than gameplay. Splatterhouse takes it the other way. The horror elements are there to add atmosphere, but the gameplay is what you're going for. There's no shock value to be had from the horror elements. It's there to add to the gameplay. And that's where Splatterhouse really succeeds in what it tries to do. All the film references, all the Lovecraftian horror, and all the subtle elements therein that's just kind of creepy, and, it just adds to that nightmarish feel that you'd get from playing this game. And at least in terms of what the arcade was meant to do, it was definitely a quarter muncher. Definitely a quarter muncher for people who weren't really skilled with the game. Now, I'm not very good at the game. I'm good, but I'm not good enough. Like some people, I've seen people on other channels on YouTube, they're doing playthroughs with no damage at all, and fucking blows my mind. Like, holy fucking shit, how do you do that? And it's like, oh wow, so there's a level of skill that can be reached in this game, and it's worth it. It's safe to say that this game definitely earned the hype back in the day. It earned all of the hype that it earned, you know, especially for being labeled the 6th best-selling table arcade game of 1988. That says a lot. And the game is really rewarding once you actually master the fight, once you get really good at getting through the levels and battling the bosses. That's where the fun opens up. The challenge opens up in most of the boss fights. You know, Biggie Man, the Evil Cross, Hell Chaos, those 3 are among the best. And Evil Mirror Rick is a really good mini-boss. I wouldn't call him a mini-boss because he's technically considered an enemy, but he's up there enough to be considered a mini-boss. As for the legacy of the game, it's a little hard to tell. I mean, for a beat-em-up game and an arcade game, it really wasn't groundbreaking in terms of bringing anything new to the table in terms of gameplay. It followed the tropes of the standard beat-em-up, and that was pretty much it. You could say it brought some horror elements more mainstream to broader attention just because of the success of the game, but even then it's kind of pushing it because there were other horror games at the time, although they were probably more for shock value rather than gameplay. So it's a bit tough to say what its legacy and impact was, but considering the fact that it's become quite a cult hit, it says a lot about what the game is. So it's definitely worth finding a way to play, even, you know, out of curiosity's sake. I have a feeling that once you get hooked on it, you're not going to want to put it down, especially if you like horror or beat-em-up games or anything like that. It's a lot of fun. It's really worth investing in. So it definitely lives up to the reputation it's earned, being the first of the classic trilogy. Now, I have a feeling I'm forgetting something. Oh yes, the ending. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we end our very first episode of the Splatterhouse series retrospective on RetroReactive. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you very much for watching this video. Stick around a little bit longer for an extra teaser trailer for next week's video coming up. And I want to say, if you enjoyed this, just tell me what you enjoyed. Share it with your friends, all of that good stuff. Whatever makes your heart happy. I really hope you did enjoy this, though. I certainly enjoyed making it. I'm going to enjoy making the next one. I'm going to enjoy making the third one. I'm going to enjoy making all of them right up till fucking Halloween. And it's going to be glorious. So, I hope you tune in next week for next week's episode of RetroReactive, where we talk about Splatterhouse, One Paku Graffiti. It would sort of help if I had that in the camera, I think. I will catch you guys later.